Hi and welcome to Outwell and to the Glendale 5E from our deluxe collection. This is a large tunnel design tent and it's aimed to sleep up to 5 people. What we have is some bedrooms at the back, we have then a sealed living area and we have this outside room as well, which we'll show you in more detail as we go on. With it being from our deluxe collection, you'll find that we're using our Outex 4000 material for our fly sheet here. This is a good quality taffeta polyester, so you would expect this to last for a good long time. It's fully PU coated on the inside and then all of the seams are fully taped as well to ensure that it's completely waterproof with a hydrostatic head of 4000 millimeters. The frame that we use on here is actually a hybrid frame, so at the front we're using our Duratec fiberglass pole to create this front porch area, and there is also a Duratec fiberglass pole at the back as well. Then the main body of the tent is made up of steel, so actually still very sturdy and very stable. In fact, it's been tested to withstand a force 9 on the Beaufort scale. In terms of pitching it, you should find it nice and easy as well because we do colour code all of the sleeves, as you can just see here, to match the poles that are relevant for those sleeves. So as I say, you shouldn't really be able to get in the wrong pole in the wrong place. Some other features just to highlight them, we have large ventilation panels down the side of the tent and round the back and of course across the other side as well. So just under here there's a mesh panel just allowing cool fresh air into that sealed area of the tent if it gets a little bit too hot in there. If it gets a little bit too cold though, we can take these away just simply by removing the Velcro tabs and pressing down on the panel itself. We have large windows all the way around this tent, flooding the inside with light and making it feel nice and spacious, and you can see these go all the way around here, and we'll show you some more details of these from the inside too because we do have curtains for each of these windows as well. So in terms of stability, as I mentioned, with the steel frame it is a very solid tent, but what we want to do is make sure that it's one of the most stable in the market. So what we do here is add in our wind stabilizer system, and we'll just show you now how that works. So when we set the tent up, we have to just wrap these tabs around the poles like this, and then that will keep it in place. You find that there's one at the top and at the bottom of all the poles all the way around the tent. And what these do is, this is where we have our guy lines attached, so when we pull the guy lines out and peg them into the ground, it pulls all of the fabric against the frame of the tent, making the whole thing much more tight, or much more taut rather, and therefore a lot more stable. And as I mentioned earlier on, it's been tested to withstand a force 9 gale. So some other features then, the guy lines themselves are all luminous, so hopefully that should stop you from tripping over them quite as easily when they're dark. Also we have reflective points on the tent as well, so when you're wearing a head torch or torch, these will light up and you'll be able to see them nice and clearly. Each of the guy lines has got its own retainer, so when it comes to packing the tent away, we can simply wrap them up and pop them into these loops so that the next time you come to set the tent up, they're easily accessible. We also supply you with our easy pegging system here on this tent, which is where we give you 3 separate different types of pegs. So we have the solid steel pegs here for the corners, which would go into the grey pegging points. We have the black plastic peg for all of the black pegging points around the edge of the tent. And we also have the luminous peg here for all of the luminous guy lines. So it's in the name there, the easy pegging system, making it easy to make sure you get the right peg in the right place. So coming around the front of the tent, you'll also just notice at the bottom here we have these mud valances around the porch, which is just going to encourage any rainwater to run down the material and away from the inside, just keeping that a little bit more protected. Now when we get round to the front door, you'll see that it is a good size front door, so getting all of your camping gear into the tent is going to be nice and easy. It's also quite tall as well. I'm quite tall myself, and I certainly don't have to duck down to get into this tent. It is a good height. Now at the beginning of this clip I mentioned the name of the tent, which is the Glendale 5E. Now the E stands for our extended canopy system. What I'd like to do is just show you exactly how that works. Now the extended canopy system actually just involves this piece of material that's already attached to the door, and all we have to do is simply just unzip this down the sides, and we can change this position either to come straight down here just to give you a little bit more shade or shelter, or we can also have it going out the front as a double length extended canopy. So here you can see that what we have created is a good sheltered and private area. Now with the use of 2 additional upright poles and 2 guy lines, we can now take this piece of material out, as I said earlier on, to create a double length extended canopy. So another nice feature at the front of this tent here is that either side of the door, these panels here, if you just unpeg them at the front, can be rolled back. You can just see there are a couple of toggles on the outside here. So we can actually roll these panels back and toggle them up to create a sort of open front, almost like an extension at the front of your tent. You'll also find that at the front of the tent here we have a full mesh door, which is just rolled away at the moment. And what that allows for is great ventilation within the tent. The front porch area itself has got a good quality ground sheet in here. It's actually exactly the same material as what we use in the sealed area of the tent. So it's a double coated polyethylene material, which is completely waterproof with a hydrostatic head of 10,000 mil. And over here you can see that it is bathtub in style, so it comes up around the edges, hopefully just protecting you a little bit more from any drafts or anything like that. So the porch area itself is a good size. Obviously you can have your sort of kitchen storage units out here or anything else like that as well. And this area is then separated from the main area of the tent with this large dividing wall. Now what you can do here is, obviously with this being zipped, it can be fully opened up just again to create one sort of large open space if you want to. Or you can have it as we have here, which is halfway across. You can see that you've got mesh ventilation panels on this wall as well. And we do have curtains that are just rolled away behind here too, so in the evenings you can just close this up if it gets a little bit too chilly or if you want a little bit of privacy. There's a zip at the top and at the bottom, so obviously you can just pull this across fully as well to completely close off this section of the tent. So in here, I mentioned earlier on about lots of large windows around us flooding the place with light, and I think for me that really accentuates the space that we have in here actually. I'm quite tall, as I mentioned again earlier, at around 6'3", and you can see I've got plenty of height above me, and certainly around me, lots and lots of space here for, again, storage units and furniture and things like that as well. Now on the windows, yes, they let lots of light in. If you do want a little bit more privacy though, what they do all have is curtains that are rolled away at the moment, but they can either be sort of brought either halfway up or they can be fully toggled closed just to give you a little bit more privacy. Above all of the windows is where we have our mesh ventilation panels that we highlighted from the outside. So again, just allowing for great ventilation within the tent. You'll find there's a side door on this tent as well. So here we do have a full mesh door again. So if you have your front open up there with the mesh ventilation panels, and you have this side door closed down with the mesh, but with the waterproof door open on the outside, then again, you're not really going to be able to get much more ventilation than that. We have a lantern hanging point in a good central location within this area here, and then leading away from that, you'll find that we have lots of cable tidies, which run down to where our cable entry point is. So just here underneath the door we can bring our cables into the tent just by zipping this open, and that obviously allows you to keep that mesh door closed. Also, just while I'm here, I'll point out this ground sheet back here. We already talked about the one at the front, but this is exactly the same material, but the only difference is in this area it is fully sealed from front to back and side to side, so you get no drafts whatsoever. You're hopefully going to keep out things like dirt and dust and sand and things like that, and more importantly, hopefully keep out those unwanted creepy crawlies too. So at the back of the tent is where the bedrooms are, and as I mentioned earlier on, it can sleep up to 5 people. Now, a nice feature here is that these bedrooms come pre-attached, so that's a job that you don't need to worry about doing. These are already in place. How we attach them to the fly sheet is using our wave-shaped hanging point system. Now, whilst that is very nice looking and it has a certain amount of design to it, it's also very functional because it takes away any of the stress on the seam at the top of the bedroom. Some other nice features to highlight on the bedrooms would be these pockets on the outside here of a good size for all your smaller personal possessions. The doors for the bedrooms each have mesh ventilation panels on here at 2, so you're not going to get too hot in the bedrooms themselves. So at the back of the bedroom here we can see that we have a large mesh ventilation panel which corresponds to outside ventilation on the fly sheet. Down here we can see that we have these handy storage pockets which are ideal for smaller personal possessions. And then separating the two bedrooms, you find that we have this zipped sheet here, which just obviously, as I say, separates them, but this can be opened up to create one large bedroom if needs be. Another nice feature here is that we're utilising our universal bedrooms, so this is where we have the zip on the outside here, just to drop down one half of the bedroom, and we'll show you now how that works. We have a few optional extras available for the Glendale 5e, including the carpet that you can see in the living area there. There's a footprint also available to go under your ground sheets to keep them clean and dry, and there is also a side extension available too. So there you have it, that's all the features and optional extras for the Glendale 5e from our deluxe collection. Thanks very much for watching.